now we're getting into workflow automation, and this is where Salesforce is able to do a lot of complex things through clicks instead of code. We've mentioned before other terminology related to this would be called declarative versus programmatic. And so if you just keep in mind that as it relates to workflow automation, the better that you understand these concepts, the more you understand what can be done on the platform without having to resort to code. If you resort to a code-first mentality, you'll find that it's harder to maintain over time, and that changes that are introduced later on will break previous code or test classes, for instance. And so it's always good practice or best practice to create your solutions through clicks instead of code wherever possible. So for workflow automation, it's critical that you understand these concepts in order to pass the admin exam, and then if you plan to go on to become a developer as well, it helps to know what can be done declaratively. So we'll be going into workflow rules, and you'll be doing these a lot as a Salesforce professional. For these workflow rules, there's certain criteria you can set so that based on certain criteria, they either fire or they don't. And then once they are triggered to fire, there's actions that happen. We'll be going into the different types of actions that can happen through a workflow rule. And there's immediate actions, and then there's also time-based actions that can occur. Under workflow automation, we'll also go into approval processes. And then finally, we'll look at the Lightning Process Builder. This is a newer tool that Salesforce has made available that has taken a large chunk of functionality that used to only be available to those that could code and is making it readily available to those that only know the declarative side of things. And so I mentioned previously how as time progresses, Salesforce makes more and more things available and accessible through clicks instead of code. The Lightning Process Builder is one such tool, and it also is on the admin exam. And so we will introduce you to all of these concepts as it relates to workflow automation.